Good evening, Saints. Good evening, Saints. Um, didn't really prepare too much for today's video, but so it's going to be more like a discussion based, right? I'm just sharing some of my thoughts. It might not be in the most logical order because I didn't really prepare, but received in one of my comments someone who's left a message was very interesting. Um, asking about the Stargate and the Genesis projects that's currently happening. I guess we're all kind of just speculating on the mark of the beast, right? Everybody's trying to figure out what the mark of the beast is, and when will it will be implemented. How can we see the trends in the world and see how that could be come about, right? I didn't do too much research, so today I'm just going to be discussing. And firstly, I want to just really thank everybody who actually watches my videos. And it's your comments, no matter how long, no matter how if it's supportive of the content or if you're coming against me, it's your comments that gives me the motivation to continue making these videos. I'm not gonna lie. I made this channel not for popularity, not for profit. I made this channel to fellowship. So I actually don't hope that, my channel grows big because I really appreciate the interaction that I get to have with, all of my viewers. So I really appreciate you guys, your comments. And even for the ones that come against me, come against date watchers, date setters, et cetera, et cetera. It's okay. You can leave me messages. But I do pray that you may leave them in, the season with salt because I do have feelings. I don't like being called son of the devil. I think those comments are really dangerous and very harsh to throw around if you call yourself a Christian. Okay. So yeah. So anyways, let's continue on. So, this subject is really complex, right? I'll just share with you guys my journey in assessing this issue, right? The issue of what is the mark of the beast, when is it going to come, right? How is it going to come? What does it look like? Way back a couple years ago, I was really focused in on Elon Musk's Neuralink, okay, where he was developing this brain implant to be planted into the head, and then that progression of that tech, ultimately is going to be some sort of transhumanism, right? We're going to be part human, part machine, right? Although right now the chip that is already in, I think there are already a few walking. I believe he successfully implanted monkeys in 2023, and I believe in 2024 he was able to get the order, the go-ahead signed by the Supreme Court to try it with human trials. And I believe that in 2025 there were humans that are actually with chips implanted into their brain, and they're still alive and doing well. At least that is the latest that I've been, but of that progression. However, that technology to be able to implement that ultimately, in a widespread, worldwide type of a phenomenon, it's not going to be any time within the next 3 to 4 years or even 5 to 7 years. Okay. That technology is very complex, is still in the experimental stages, and is not advanced enough for it to be connected to like for you for is not enough for like for instance like what I envision that this chip, like if it's in the head, then pretty much AI could be in your head, right? Then basically you have a supercomputer in your head that you can access to. Because I'm an educator, I always ask myself the question, all right, when that day happens, like what is the value of education, right? Like why do you need to learn calculus when you have the supercomputer in front? Essentially, all you need to do is you need to be able to know how to ask questions, right? Um, I thought that was going to be the mark, because I asked myself, okay, what about this mark that makes people unsavable, right? And then I thought, like, okay, maybe it's the transhumanism because God can only save humans. Like when you make yourself part machine, part human, then I guess you're not salvageable anymore, right? Because you're not made in the image of God anymore, right? That was my original thinking until I went into I went into a very detailed analysis of the time, like, that technology, how fast it could progress and become worldwide. That's really, really still far off. Okay, so that technology is definitely not mature. So I do not think the mark of the beast is going to be like that chip that Elon Musk is working on that, goes into someone's head. That is still very far off. Um, and it doesn't address the worship part, right? And and we actually don't need that brain chip at all right now because the whole world is developing digital currency. I'm pretty sure you guys know what it is, CBDC, right? Many countries are experimenting with CBDC, and there is currently an organization, a international organization that is leading the charge on global integrated digital financial network, meaning digital currencies can basically it's not just local, right? It's international, right? And it's in a network, and basically it's interchangeable, right? And so that's like the global digital currency. And then like how far are we away from that? To be absolutely honest, all the technology for that is done. Like a chip in the hand, the to be able to have that chip include your bio ID or some sort of a payment, that is already there. The technology is already mature. Okay, so that could be implemented in a second. So what's not something that could be implemented in a second is the global implementation of the digital currency, not just to a nation, but a global implementation. However, the organization that I forgot the name. Hold on, let me check real quick what that organization name is called. Um, Hold on one second. It's called the Bank of International Settlements. Okay, it's BIS. They have four different projects right now. One is called Project M Bridge, Project Dunbar, Project Icebreaker, and Project Rosalind. And all of these projects are actually what their ultimate purpose is to make a system that allows every nation's CBDCs to have interoperability, okay, and for it to be flexible enough, whereas the programmability of transactions must be there, and there must be real-time cross-border settlements, right? So it's literally a global financial grid, and that is in the making. Okay. Now, how fast will that be completed depends on the capital markets, on economics, right? Like, what is the incentive to basically switch to that? There needs see it's the if I know anything about finance is that usually they don't start addressing problems until it's too late, right? Because we are addicted to debt, right, in the current economic system. Um, so it takes something for that digital platform to move faster. And but the things that actually will cause that to move faster is it's pretty much already here. For example, what are the things that would allow, let's say, various developed nations, let's say superpowers, the European Union, United States, right, China, Japan, like what would it take for all of them to actually put in more effort to move forward and not just like isolated movement, but more like cohesive effort? Well, one, bank runs. If there's a fiat currency crisis, right? Bank runs. Um, Two, stabilize prices and supply chains, right? That is also inflation is a huge problem now. But the last catalyst that would basically really push this digital currency to the top is actually it allows government to deliver stimulus directly to a personal account, right? So, the like during the COVID, right? The U.S. government gave out stimulus checks to various people, blah blah blah. All that could be done in an instant digitally with digital currency. So these are the catalysts that actually will move that, international order, the development of the global network, right? Where they could exchange, trade and have all these communication and networks, and they're all linked together. All the technology for that is there. So it just takes will, right? It just takes will from the financial department of the global financial order to move towards that direction. And I actually I think that is the mark of the beast, because the mark of the beast must be associated with your participation in the economic system of that time period. Because buying and selling is very, very clear cut, is very distinct. So that's number one. And number two, this mark of the beast is supposed to promote worship of the beast system, meaning it's not just a control. It's more like it's it received its total control because it's worshipped. Okay, there has to be the element of worship. That's when I realized that it's not transhumanism that disqualify us, right? We're a person from salvation. It's more like, if are you worshiping this beast system? Are you worshiping the mark of the beast? It's worship. It's a person's a worship is like you love it. That's hope. It represents your hope. It represents your desires. It represents your well-being, right? These are the things that allow a person to worship something. Okay. Um, according to my understanding, and it's already happening right now, I feel terrible for the youth today, and I feel terrible for all of us, actually. Essentially my job, right, as an educator, it could be replaced by AI in the next 2 years. I think it's probably only take a year, right? I help kids understand different majors. I coach them on different career path. Like, all of that could be done by AI, right? The only thing that AI can't do is, I guess, they can't inspire people, right, like human beings. It takes a spirit. Inspiration in English is the inhaling of spirit, right? It takes the spirit to inspire. um but it doesn't take the spirit to actually guide and mentor and give directions, which is what AI is fully capable of. And I think to many degrees, it actually does a better job than human beings in various sectors. So the biggest financial crisis, in addition to, let's say, oh, if the alien invasion happened or World War III, but the biggest catalyst for economic restructuring is AI. Okay. And it's not in the sense where like AI allow governments to track people, blah, 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 all these different type of projects. No, AI will take over our jobs. Okay. So in the next 2 years, if we take what Elon Musk and all these AI people are talking seriously, like, yeah, the millionaires could very well be the people who are actually building houses, right? If you're handy with tools, if you're an electrician, right? If you, you know, people who use hands and needs precision, right? Artistry, that. But anything like, like I don't even know what the value of a college education is, aside from like teaching kids how to socialize, how to love people, be kind, and what is good and what is bad. But essentially all the knowledge that a student learns, like that is going to be like we can't compete against AI in terms of like how much knowledge we have. Right? Everybody knows that. This is just impossible because one's finite and one's infinite. Um, but the AI is going to take over, I think, probably half of the jobs. So every single, and it's going to start here in the US and also in the developed nations. I think the biggest crisis is actually the well-being of an average person. Are you still able to make money? Are you able to find a career? Are you able to work in this AI-driven world? Right? That is the biggest issue. So I don't know if you guys heard a couple years ago there was what year was it? Was it 2016? Oh, 2020 elections. There was an Asian American guy named Andrew Yang. I don't know if you guys know him. He was a candidate in the Democratic Party, and he actually proposed something that was really crazy. He proposed something called a universal basic income. Essentially, actually, when I first heard the idea, I thought it was actually very smart, because you're just actually taxing the robots and then using them as labor, and then whatever revenue they generate, you can actually give it out to real people, and real people don't even have to work. So it's a brilliant idea. So instead of getting taken over by AI, why don't we have AI work for us, right? Essentially, human beings don't have to do anything. And then Elon Musk said something recently saying in the future, work is optional. Okay. What if, right? What if in the next 2 years, 40% of the jobs are already gone? college kids cannot find jobs. Right now, essentially, you have kids graduated from Ivy League schools who cannot find jobs, right? And these are the American Ivy League schools, like the American elite schools, like the top 50 schools in the world. 80% of it is it's American top 50 schools, right? So if the American elite schools kids are graduating and having trouble finding jobs, imagine what the other universities in other countries are experiencing, right? Essentially, I don't think any nation right now is doing really well economically. Um, so there could be like when you have that large amount of people that basically will become jobless, there's going to be social chaos. There's going to be protests. There's going to be revolts. There's going to be uh, um, a lot. That's a lot of trouble for any country's government. And the government must spend money to maintain order, right? So you can maintain order by doing several ways. You could spend all the money and hire more cops. You could bring in the Marines. You could bring in the National Guards. You could diverse ICE members with new duties, right? Like that is one way to control your population, control the protests to achieve order in society. The second way is instead of spending all that money on policing people, why don't you just give it to people directly? Okay. So that's the concept of universal basic income. So imagine this. Imagine in the future all the people displaced, and then the government goes to the people who are jobless and say, "Hey, you know what? We have a new economics. We have digital currency. We have economic incentives for you. We will save you. We will give you money so that you could do this and that and live and buy the things that you need. But it's got to be digital." Okay. So that's one way for the government around the world to collectively, push people towards the digital currency because they know, okay, if in the next 3 years, if let's say all the 40 to 50% jobs. So look at the job losses that's happening in the US currently. A year ago, the job losses were entry level jobs. So college graduates, right? These type of jobs, first year analysts, second year analysts, these jobs were being displaced. The job losses is happening in the last 2 months. This is middle and upper management, guys. So the jobs being lost is not like 80K, 90K. It's probably like 200,000, 300,000 annual salary, maybe even higher. Okay. So we're wiping out like this job loss is wiping out a lot of like upper middle class people. All right. So let's say 40% of all workforce is wiped out. You bet that country is going to be in like chaos, right? It's just going to be chaos in society. So that's probably what would happen to, push the global financial system to incentivize them to immediately go digital. Because if you have universal basic income to give out, right? If you have all AI replacing and they're generating revenue, they're increasing the efficiency. So of course you could tax them. Of course you could use their revenue and deliver that to human beings in the form of universal basic income, right? What if the government choose to launch that only using digital currency? And that's the way that it forces, as like one of the first steps, first reasons for why everybody needs to switch to the new system. Like you will not be able to get the universal basic income unless you take this mark in your hand, right? To go so that you can participate in a totally digital currency system. I think that's very viable, guys. And you know what that results in? Okay. You know what that results in? So all of a sudden, the government is giving free money to people, and everybody's going digital and getting this free money from government. You know what happens after that? Worship. Worship. Okay. So that's my speculation for what the mark of the beast is. It's actually not, I don't think is that transhumanism. So this is only my opinion, by the way. I'm going to do more research and do a second video follow up on this. But I don't think it's transhumanism, chip in the brain where you are part human, part machine, because that technology is not mature and it's not going to be implemented. It's not within a decade. So if we feel that the timing is now, that the Lord's return is now, the most viable thing that represents the mark of the beast is a global networked um, digital currency platform where every nation's CBDC could be exchanged, could be traded, right? It's like it's just a digital version of everything that you see fiat, but total control from from the government. You can't escape taxes, right? You can't. It makes a lot of sense for government to do that, to be honest. But why would that result in worship? I think something is only worshipped when it literally gives people hope, right? It benefits people. So that I feel like will come in the form of something like universal basic income. And the day that society absolutely, let's say 50, 60% of the people need universal basic income. And if the government can provide it and that income is pretty good, it allows you to live a good life, that will automatically result in worship. And I could see people transitioning to that digital currency without even giving a second thought. Okay. Because there's incentives. There's really good incentives that speak goodness, and that results in worship. Okay. So that's my understanding of what I think the mark of the beast would be and how it might be implemented. It must be through some sort of crises. I think AI's role in this process is not actually the AI is the mark of the beast. I think the AI revolution will cause that financial collapse, that a complete new economic order where people don't have jobs, right? That will result in the transition to a digital currency that gives out some sort of universal basic income that people will love because you get paid without doing work, and you could do some stuff that human beings can do, instead of working in a factory or working on calculations. Maybe I just want to volunteer, maybe I just want to help people, maybe I just want to make my community better. With universal basic income, all of that is possible. Okay, so two elements: one, it must involve buying and selling, so it is an economic system. Okay, secondly is it's got to be worshiped. So it must be something that provides tremendously more financial value for the average person and in ways that the current fiat currency and everything is not capable of. And that to me is the universal basic income. All right, guys. I'm going to do another follow-up video for this, and then I will put in a lot more research so that it would be more logical, right? And I could provide more facts and actual data to show you guys. But this is the overall box of my thinking. Feel free to leave a comment, agree or disagree. All right. Like, I'm here to fellowship with you guys. Um, it's an honor, right? So I hope everyone, I hope this video is interesting to hear, right? To listen to. And then uh, I wish all the brothers and sisters a awesome night. And tomorrow's Friday, TGIF. I hope everybody have a great weekend. All right, Saints. Until next time, stay blessed.